So, let me talk to you about Mounjaro. Yes, it's not going away anytime soon. But did you know we've got a client? In fact, we have several clients. Kamal is one of them actually. So she's on Mounjaro. Yeah, I know I give Mounjaro a hard time on social media, but it does have a role to play. Now, why is Kamal on it? Well, I'm going to explain that in a second, right? So Ozempic, Mounjaro, whatever it might be, most of the time people kind of forget what it's all about. Yes, it's got a kind of a mechanism. It's got a way it works in the body, but essentially it just kind of slows down the gut, basically, right? So it just means that you're going to eat less because you're quite full. And that's when most people have that, that effect of feeling quite full, sickly, and some nasty side effects as well, which I won't talk about. But all that being said, it's just a way to suppress your appetite. Now, do I recommend it for select people? Yes, but for the majority of people who just have a little bit of stubborn fat to lose, you ain't got any business. But Koval here is somebody who she had diabetes, so runs in the family, and she's fairly healthy, but she's got a bit of weight on her, so she's being observed by the doctor. But there's something you need to know about it, all right? And it's not going to give you the long-term habits and the long-term, it's not going to develop the long-term behaviors in order for you to keep the weight off. And this is where most people are going wrong, and this is the battle that I'm facing and other coaches are facing as well. In that, although it can help, it can play a role, there's something that a lot of you are not doing who are taking it, and that's why you're not making the most from it. And that is developing good nutrition and exercise. I know you want to go now, you want to be taught something groundbreaking, and you're thinking, right, what a waste of time. But hear me out. The reason, as you can see on the screen just now, Koval was able to achieve an extraordinary transformation. You'll notice that she's leaned out and she's toned up quite a bit as well. And that was not by accident, that was by design, all right? Because what she did, she lifted weights. And you guys probably know where I'm going with this, but when it comes to, well, this shaky table here and it keeps moving. Anyway, so when it comes to losing weight, a lot of you guys, they just want to see the number come down, and that's cool if you're into that. But if you're wanting to keep the weight down, but also be leaner and be a bit toned and be happy in your clothes and your outfits, you know what? I'm just going to get rid of that. That's kind of distracting. And you want to get out of the shower and you want to be happy with what you see, and you want to look back at photos and look good. Weight loss alone is not going to do that. There is a degree of muscle tissue that needs to be developed, and that's what's going to allow you to keep the weight off. If you guys don't already know, muscle is what we call metabolically active tissue, which means the more you have of it, the more calories you burn at rest, because it is expensive for the body. In short, fat is not metabolically active tissue. Fat is quite easy to store because it is stored energy, excess calories, whereas muscle tissue, you need to work for it. That's why most people don't want it, because they don't want to get up their butts and do a little bit of exercise. So when you are wanting to boost metabolism, please don't take any thermogenics or any of this nonsense. It's going to only happen through good lifestyle habits, obviously, and weight training. Lifting weights and developing muscle tissue is going to allow you to do that. And this is why both go hand in hand, because if you are taking the drugs, all right, you then need to make sure that the ratio of fat loss is going to be higher compared to muscle. You do not want to lose muscle tissue, because that's going to be detrimental to long-term weight, because your bones not going to have any support around. You're going to be having aches and pains as you get older as well. So whilst you might feel good just now because the weight's coming down and the face is coming in and people are commenting you and they're saying, oh my God, Mounjaro and Ozempic, where can I get it, etc., etc. In a couple of months' time, you're going to look back and you're going to wish you did it properly. And I'm not saying obviously it's the devil. It has a role for some people, but I would rather you guys did it properly. Koval was someone who was completely confused, and I said to her, listen, this is what you got to do. So what we did was we planned training into her week, 2 times a week. That was it. At the weekend, because that's the time that she had, right? So the weekend, we did a bit of weight training with her, planned everything out for her, and she was obviously being observed by a doctor. She was taking her dosages, and she was losing weight. Her appetite was all over the place, of course, because it was suppressed sometimes because she was training, it was all over the place and it was increasing. But protein was the most fundamental nutrient, was the most important food group of all, because remember, when you are doing any form of weight loss, because muscle tissue is going to be compromised, you need to find a way to protect it. And this is the kind of the astronaut example I give to most people, in that when astronauts go to space, there ain't no gravity there, right? So they're not going to be able to use their muscles. They're just floating around having a good old time. Not really. But they need to train 2 to 3 hours every single day. Yes, 2 to 3 hours every single day. And that's because their muscles, there's no use for them because they're floating around. So there's not any exertion on them. So that's why if they did no exercise in space in the International Space Station, which will be coming down soon, any astronomy geeks, please reach out to me. I absolutely love astronomy. So they're floating around everywhere and muscle's going to start to waste away. So if you actually go on YouTube and you look at some of the astronauts that have gone to space, and if you look at 6 months ago, 12 months ago, just before they left, they looked fairly healthy, But when they return and that capsule drops and they come out of the little hub, they look worn out. They're completely shattered. You can see it in their face. They're basically zombies, right? And that's because their aging is sped up because muscle's not being utilized. And that's the best way to think about it. So our grandparents and our elders, they're not going to want to exercise because for them, this is the path that was written for them, which is a bit of a shame. But weight training, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a coach, I'm being biased or what have you, but weight training is the best thing you can do for your health. We've all seen someone in the gym. We have seen that individual who looks as if they're in their 40s and their 50s, but they're like 80 and 90 and it surprises everyone. No, genetics didn't do all of it. Yeah, it does play some role, but they lifted some weights. They exercised a little bit. And it wasn't just going to the gym. You can just do it at home. You can do it in a class. Find something you enjoy. So if you are on these jabs, you want to be making sure that you are making them part of your little regimen. Because if you just focus on Ozempic and Mounjaro alone, thinking, oh my God, the weight's going to drop off me. And whilst it will, a lot of that's going to come from muscle, which you won't notice now, but in a couple of months' time you will. And we've seen that happen with many, many people. So we try to stop people from getting to that stage. So we try to put some actions in place just now. And for reference, there's at least 15 or 16 of our clients who are on Ozempic and Mounjaro for a variety of reasons. So we're kind of tailoring the approach a little bit. So if you are on it just now for whatever reason, please understand that although it can help you lose the weight, you want to get rid of as much body fat as possible and not muscle tissue. Because a lot of you guys see muscle is wrong, is bad, you know, it's for men. No, it's actually more important for women because you guys already have a hard time maintaining muscle tissue. But overall weight loss is not going to be the best thing for you. You want to try and lose as much fat as possible, which means the weight loss on the scale may not be as fast, but I promise you in a couple of months' time, when you look back in the mirror, you'll be glad you did it the proper way. Okay, so didn't pull any punches there. I told you exactly like it is. A lot of people think I'm against it. And yes, I am when people are asking their pharmacist friends to, you know, score some Ozempic. I mean, they don't really need it, right? But if you have a lot of weight to lose, right? If you're obese, for example, if you've got diabetes, issues with blood sugar, and a doctor has recommended that this would work for you and it'd be beneficial for you, awesome. That's the first stage. The second stage is making sure that you're doing it properly. All right. So that's when I would suggest you do some exercise, you eat a little bit more protein to make sure you're not wasting away all the muscle tissue, because that is where the problem lies. Now, before you go, I did a video on Desi tea, completely unrelated to this video, but it's the last video I did. So if you enjoy your tea, you enjoy a little bit of caffeine, and you want to lose weight, then please, before you go, watch this video. And I will be back with another awesome video very, very soon. Thank you folks so much for watching, and if you did find any value in this, then consider subscribing. But before you go, watch this video first. It is quite cool.